Hello, Jeff Zwerink here, and welcome back to Give and Take, the segment of our show where we explore important scientific ideas to equip you to be more confident in sharing the gospel. Today I'm joined by Dr. Erick Thompson, and we're going to ask, what do we do with this "we can't expect much" philosophy? Erick, it's good to have you here today.
Jeff, it's great to be here.
You know, I know you've got a background in veterinary medicine, you do equine practice, but you've also been involved in these executive networks with large multinational corporations. You know, and so I really want to just kind of explore, you've talked about this idea of this kind of "we can't expect much" philosophy. What is that?
Well, it kind of stemmed from the work that I've actually done more from a corporate executive network involvement. We're working with large companies to help people in their companies become more competitive, and even military organizations. And even prior to that, getting into veterinary school, there was never a philosophy of we can't expect much. In fact, if anything, it was we expect more. Mm-hmm. So inside of large organizations, it's no secret that the expectations are going up. The resources are going down. So there isn't a relaxation, if you will, of expectations of learning, expectations of performance. Mm-hmm. Since then, been involved in churches, in youth ministry. That's a passion of mine, especially teenage ministries. Mm-hmm. And honestly, what's troubled me there in many cases is that there's kind of what I call "we can't expect much" philosophy creeping in. And how that's manifested is in large part coming from the fact that we all live very busy lives. Mm-hmm. We have kids that are involved in intense academic activities, kids that are involved in sports, various other events that are absorbing their time. Mm-hmm. Yet from a spiritual development standpoint, I'm hearing a lot of comments saying, well, we just can't expect much of their time. We can't expect much of their time to study the Bible, to become Bible literate. We can't expect even them to come on time to church teachings, etc. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of looking at the goal of, in my work world, I see expecting more for the results, but for some reason in our spiritual development, our kids, and I'm a victim of this myself. Mm-hmm. I see expectations of we just can't expect much because there's no time left.
Well, and so, there's a part to where I wonder, what do we do with that? Because there is a very real sense where people are expecting more. You know, your kids are in school, they've got AP classes, they're expecting this much time if they want to be involved in sports, which is healthy character development that goes on there. That takes a lot of time. There's homework. I would say, in some sense, an excessive amount of homework. So how do we expect more out of our kids when it comes to spiritual development? Because that's clearly important.
I think, and here's where I think parent leadership, and especially if you're involved in leadership in churches, comes into play. We have to keep the large goal in mind. Mm-hmm. The large goal to me as a Christian is to, number one, to know God and make Him known. Because I'm in this for the long haul. A business will say they're in this for the long haul. Well, that might mean 5 years, 10 years, 100 years. Mm-hmm. To me, the long haul means eternity.
That's a lot longer than 10 years, no matter how you slice it.
If I dare use a business term, net present value, and you plug in eternity as the time equation of that, it kind of moves things around. So we can't lose the reality of the importance of spiritual development, regardless of the pressures of culture that would say, no, what's more important right now is development of our kids in non-spiritual areas.
So in some sense, is this "we can't expect much" philosophy kind of flow out of a lack of, or maybe misordered priorities, if you will? Because I think most Christians would say, yeah, clearly spiritual development's important, but in some sense we don't put the priority on it. Is that where we get some of the "we can't expect much" philosophy?
Well, absolutely. And I think all of us, whether we like it or not, are impacted by the culture of which we live and we're a part of. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to say, well, this is what I believe and this is what I value, but then what I really live out is something else. So I think we have to look at and stop as an adult to say, okay, am I living my values? Mm-hmm. Because we only have a very short time with our kids. And so and I think part of parent responsibility is to say, wait a minute, is it that important to sacrifice a kid's spiritual development at a time when they really need it to prep them for a specific school?
Right. Our kids probably more catch what we do rather than us teaching them what we do. If we do this, they learn to do that. If we're not valuing things, they're certainly not going to. So how do we do that as parents?
Well, and I think we can't expect our kids to do this. So then they're not equipped from a mature standpoint in order to do this. So how we do it is that we totally have to stop every once in a while and say, okay, do my actions match up with my values as it relates to my responsibilities as a parent? Am I setting the bar high? I can't make the decisions for my own kids to follow Christ. I can't make my own decisions for my kids to have my kids set my kids' priorities. But I have to set the bar at that level.
What is the bar that we ought to be setting? Is it just we want them to know, to be a Christian and know what Christianity is about, or is the bar higher than that?
Well, I think, first of all, our kids have to know what they believe and why they believe. In other words, they should be asked that.
Right.
And if their answer is, well, I believe Christianity because my parents believe in Christianity, that's not going to get them too far. So, secondly, I think we have to expose them and teach them about different worldviews that compete or very much differ than theirs. And to understand, not only to know that, but to understand how to engage. Because if our kids aren't challenged with what they believe and why they believe, they won't have the confidence they need to be able to survive in a post-Christian culture that we're in.
So in some sense, you're not saying they just need to know about Christianity. They need to have a vibrant enough faith, know what they believe and why they believe, in order to be able to compete out in the world of ideas, if you will, and, and to thrive in that environment as well.
Well, and I don't care what kind of environment they're growing up in, whether it's homeschool, public school, Christian school, whatever you want to talk about, they're going to be exposed to a number of ideas that never hit me at that age. You can't escape it. Culture's around. It's exposing all of us. And we all have to, we're part of culture, but we have to make sure that we show that we're different in many aspects. And so they need to be inoculated with what's out there in terms that would directly compete with what they believe, so they know how to process and determine a way to address doubts that they're going to have.
I think those are very important comments, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
As parents and as people who work with youth, it is our job to equip the next generation of Christians to be vibrant in their faith and equipped to handle the challenges they're going to face as they go out in the world so that they can share and spread the gospel. I would encourage you to go to reasons.org, search for Erick's blogs. That's Erick, E-R-I-C-K, Erick Thompson's blogs, so that you can be better equipped not only to have your faith strengthened, but so that you can raise the bar for the next generation of Christians who will carry the gospel message throughout the world.